Hi, Dale. Hi, Sheldon. Hi, Christian. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? If it looks like I got smoke blowing in my face, it's my incense. And just in case y'all can see that, it's my incense. It's a nice vibe in here. I got some R&B playing in the background. Really like living by myself. I ain't even about the front. Like, I do really like that. I love my daughter. I miss my child. When I ain't about the front, like, I don't like living by my damn self. Everything stay clean when I clean it. Like, it stays clean. The dishes in the sink be clean when I wake up in the morning. There won't be no dishes. And if there are, I know I made them. So, anyways, y'all like living by yourself? If you do. I ain't got too much longer. I only got like a few more months. Maddie about to be back wreaking havoc. She done had a damn maid for fucking a year. Her daddy talking about, no, I'm keeping her grounded. I make her do some of her children. I make her do her children. You a lying motherfucker. That child came here and tore my damn house up. Didn't know how to clean shit the whole summer. And I know who my child was when she left here. Talking about mommy, Rama will do it. No, Rama won't. Rama's the the maid. No, ain't no Rama in the United States of America. You gonna clean your shit up here. But anyways, I digress. How y'all doing? Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. How y'all doing? I don't know what y'all want to hear about tonight. I was going to talk about something so real. So real. So real. I don't know if y'all ready for real tonight or what y'all ready for. Hey, boo thing. Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of just trying to go with the flow, so I don't know what y'all want to hear about. So I'm going to tell y'all what I was going to talk about. Right now we have some stuff going on with the Kavanaugh case. I don't know much about it. I do know, I will tell you what I know, which is that, and I'm not like gonna get into politics here, so just bear with me for a second. But the gist of it is that I know that there's a lady who has accused, someone ran a red light and totaled my Ferrari. Oh no, sorry, Teddy. The Kavanaugh case is a lady, is accusing Brett Kavanaugh, who is a Supreme Court nominee, of sexual assault when they were teenagers. So he assaulted her, allegedly, as a teenager. And right now, there's a lot of controversy because there's a lot of people saying that she should have come out sooner, and then also not only that, but they're giving her a time limit, which she has agreed to from now. From what I understand at this moment, she's agreed to comply with this 1 week time frame or something like that. Don't quote me exactly on the, intricacies of it. But at this point, what I understand is that she's agreed to comply to this 1 week time frame. So they've literally told her, you've got 1 week to pretty much be ready to tell your story. And then if you don't, then we're going to dismiss, your accusation. I saw this really compelling, I think he's a New York Times editor or a reporter or something like that, a black man who was on CNN. I don't know his name. I think it's Ross or something like that. But he shared his story of sexual abuse as a child, and yeah, so he shared his story of sexual abuse, and what he shared was that it has been a journey for him, and he shared the timelines that there was a time period where he didn't say anything for years to people, and then there was another time period where after he told one person, he waited another few years to tell another, and then so on and so forth, up to 35 or 37 years, I think, since then, since this has happened to him, before he actually came out and told the public. So if Bill Cosby can be indicted for something he did 35 years ago, so can he allegedly. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm well aware that I'll lose some followers. I went down from 30 followers right now to 17. Completely aware that this is not a topic that most people want to hear about. I'm still going to share my thoughts on this because if you've been following me at some point by now, kind of know that I'll share what it is that I want to share when I want to share it, not a moment before that. But I felt compelled to share this, and because I felt compelled to share this, then that means there's at least one person that needs to hear this message, because like many of you, I am very intuitive. And I feel the need to speak on it. And so whether you're watching live right now or you watch this on replay weeks later, this is a message for someone. Okay. So I'm sharing this right now because, as you guys may know, I have shared that I also was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. I have shared, if you follow me, you have saw me talk about, I made a post about vaccinations. This is a highly controversial post. In the comments, I likened having to take vaccinations to go to Africa, something to the effect of sexual assault or sexual abuse, rape, etc. I got a lot of flack for that statement. Other victims of sexual abuse or rape came and lashed out at me and said, I don't know what it's like to be raped. What a wild accusation, you know? But that was the statement, was that I don't know what it's like to be raped. So therefore, I could not liken anything to the sort. There's nothing like having a voluntary vaccination in your body like being raped. You are so offensive. That's so ignorant. I got all the shit, right? So if you guys understand, I'm a human being, just like everybody else on Instagram. Don't know where this might come from, where you feel like you know me because what I've posted or what I've chose to post or not post for that matter on Instagram. This is a lesson for all y'all watching right now. What people post or choose not to post does not define who they are, what they have been through. Just because you've read someone's post does not mean that you know them. I don't know how much clearer I can get about that. I say that to say, this is not a secret at this point. I have shared this already on social media, or not social media, but on Instagram, social media, let me say social media. I have shared that I also was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. That has come to me. I have experienced that multiple times as a child. And when I say as a child, I'm speaking as early as 6 years of age, up until the multiple time came into effect when I was about 9 to 10 years old, for about a year, from someone I knew. Like most people know, it's, normally someone in the family, Normally someone that you know, someone that's close to you. So I found it very ironic to sit back and look at my comments and hear people profess that they know more intimately than I do about rape and sexual abuse, when I have experienced both as a child, not as a teenager. Not to say that there's anything better or that sexual abuse can come at a better time. I don't think that that's true. However, when you're 6 years old and 9 years old, I would assume that's worse than being 19, which was one of the comments. I was 19 years old when I experienced rape. I didn't do anything to deserve that. And how dare you liken an immunization to being raped? So anyways, let me get to my point. My point was, in this guy's recording that I saw, he was sharing that there is at no point should anyone who has not been sexually abused as a child put any standards on a person who has been abused as a child as to what time frame that they should come out and profess or share their abuse. I'm agreeing with him because I was at the latest 9 years old, and I can't, I was a child. So in this interview, he shared children don't necessarily remember exact times. That I agreed to, because I will say I was around 9 years old. And I'm speaking of the time when I was 9 because that's when it happened to me repeatedly, and that's when I was raped as a child. It was until I was 19 years old before I openly shared that with my mother. So, as a child, if you're experiencing this, or I know most children aren't watching me, but if a child has experienced sexual abuse, be patient. That's the first thing I can say, because children normally interpret everything as their fault. You have heard this over and over again, even when a parent or parents split up or when they divorce. Children normally, I don't care what you think, I don't care what the child says, normally they're going to interpret that or feel that they contributed to that in some sort of way. So, for that reason, you cannot place time frames or your limited mindset of when they should confess these things to you or to the public or to family members. That literally makes no sense. I'm sitting here and I can laugh about this at this moment because to a certain degree I have healed from this experience. I'm 35 years old. This happened to me when I was 9. It was until I was 19 and out of my home and on my own in college before I actually ever told my mother. This is not the public like this lady is doing. This lady, the Brett Kavanaugh accuser, she is literally sharing her story with the freaking public, people she does not know. I mean, as I am doing right now on Instagram, but she's sharing this with the world. I'm sharing this with my 65,000 followers or however many I have. So, yeah, it's a little different. You cannot place these time frames and these mindsets of when you think someone should share this stuff and expect children to understand or give you gory details or to give you, not gory, but detailed or it's almost like some things that you feel are like almost a dream. To be completely honest, and I was sharing this until I wasn't going to share this until I was going to write my book because that's what I'm getting ready, prepared for now. But to be honest, the only reason my story can be validated at this point, the only reason, because this lady, she had told somebody or somebody else was there, I think, so her story can be validated. But many people go without it's just them and the accuser or the abuser. I'm sorry, the accuser and the abuser, and that's it. And so nobody ever knows. There's never a chance where you can validate and say, because children don't know exactly what time things happen. They don't know that. They don't understand it. They're still children, The only reason that my story can be validated to this day, this is so crazy that I have to, I don't have to share this. Obviously it's voluntary. Whew. But the only reason my story can be validated is because my mom had talked to me about getting a period, right? And as a child, I was not sure. I didn't understand that when you had sex, you would bleed. And so when this happened to me, and I'm only crying right now because this is a part of my story I have not shared yet. And I feel sorry for that 9-year-old child. At this point, I won't say, clearly it bothers me because it bothers 9-year-old Queenie. It does not bother 35-year-old Queenie. But when I say this, I say that I didn't understand that when you had sex, you would bleed. So I was not sure if I was getting my period. And so only reason my story can be validated is because I told my mom that I was not sure that my cycle had came on yet. And so I showed her my underwear and I showed her that I was spotting. And that's the only reason. If I had not, this is why. After I say this, this is why I realized that I'm crying. Because if I had not shared that with my mother, I don't know that my story would have been believable. Because if I tell my story and the things that were told to me to get me to be vulnerable or in a place of vulnerability where this happened to me, what this person had to tell me to get me in that place to where I was willing to share my body with them, which sounds so crazy as I'm 9 years old. But when, for me to get to that place, I had to be very empathetic. Of course, as a kid, you feel sorry for, you feel like everything is your fault or you can fix the world. And this person had literally told me, listen to this. Oh God, you guys are getting a dose today. This person had literally told me that they had, holy shit. I know that you guys have never heard this before, so brace yourself, because this is really about to be like, if you gotta log off and take this at another time, I completely understand, because, this person had told me that 9 years old. Now, imagine yourself being 9, because this is what you have to remember. I'm not a 35-year-old adult at this point. This person had told me that they had contracted cancer. They were adults, of course, adult. They had contracted cancer. And the only way to heal their cancer was to have sex with someone. This does not even make sense. I know this as I'm sharing this with you. It does not make sense. As a 35-year-old person, it doesn't make sense. They had to have sex with someone who didn't have cancer, but also did not have cancer at supposedly the time they contracted the cancer. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but at 9 years old, you're thinking, oh no, my loved one has cancer. I'm the only 9-year-old that they know. How can I help them? That's what I dealt with. So that's the guilt that they placed on me. Obviously this person didn't have cancer. Is well and alive and still kicking today. But this is the story that they told me, to get me in this place where I felt like I needed to share my body with them, to help them. It's funny, I'm laughing because though I was a 9-year-old child and I wanted to help people, it still reminds me of who I am today, because that's just, I feel my life calling is to help people. So they preyed on something that they probably seen in me at an early age, that I wanted to help people. And they probably kicked in the cancer thing because they probably saw something in me again at an early age where I was somewhat conscientious of people's health. This is why it's important to pay attention to your children, because somebody is paying attention to them. So, I say that for many reasons. To share my story because it's good for me to share it, but I also share it because I'm sure many of you have children, and I'm pretty sure many of you have young girls. And that's not to say that young boys do not get abused, because clearly the reporter who was sharing this story was a grown-up male. Clearly he was abused also. And I know men that are abused, that have been abused as children. But yeah, so I'm sharing that because if you have a young daughter, especially, you guys have known, I've shared my relationship with my daughter's father. A very, very, very healthy relationship. There was one time where we got into a really big argument. And this was when Maddie was probably like 3 or 4 years old. And it was because he had left her with someone that I did not know. In his defense, it was his girlfriend at the time, the mother, but me, being the unhealed person that I was at that time, freaked out when I found out what happened, or that he left her with someone that I did not know, and I didn't know if there were young boys or men in that home. And I literally went berserk. When I tell you, like, went berserk, I don't know if y'all can really understand what kind of person I can be, but I can be a mean fucking, like, person. Anyways, I used to be before I was healed. I still can sometimes be that person, but, you know, mean, none of y'all, unless you know me in person, you can't even fathom the way I cussed his ass out. And, like, was livid. And because I was reliving what happened to me as a child, and I did not want that to happen to my child, you know, like to my daughter. Whew. So, thankfully she was fine, and nothing has happened to Madison. I've literally, this girl is like, Mommy, nothing has ever happened to me. She'll tell me like this, and she really has this conversation with me. Like, I'm like, girl, baby, you know that you can always tell Mommy if something has happened. Please tell me so we can take care of it. You know, you can always talk to me if anything has ever happened to you, if anybody's ever touched you inappropriately, yada yada yada. We've had this conversation. So, thankfully, nothing has ever happened to her. Nobody's ever touched her inappropriately. And Madison, I'm not necessarily worried about. This is one thing I will caution you all with as parents. My issue is, I think I've shared with you guys also, that I was a selective mute up until the age of, what's third grade? Third grade is like, how old is third grade? Whatever third grade is. 10 is 5th grade, 9, 8, so about 7 or 8 years old. I did not really communicate with my peers or my teachers. They thought something was wrong with me, yada, yada, yada. I went from being a selective mute because my mother and my parents had scared me to, like, in a way that if I felt like I ever spoke my mind, I always felt like I was being disrespectful. And for that reason, I did not speak my mind. I wasn't sure like what was okay to say or what was okay not to say. I didn't want to get a beating. So I was like really traumatized as a child, clearly. But I say that to say, because I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I didn't know how to set boundaries for myself. I didn't know how to share what was okay for you to do to me and what was not okay for you to do to me. Because as an adult, you feel like adults, if you've been programmed that adults are all right, they know everything, they're okay. You as a child don't have an opinion. Your opinion is invalid. You don't da-da-da. You're gonna be disrespectful if you say no to an adult. If you're programmed that way, then when someone touches you inappropriately, you don't necessarily know how to respond. Because I didn't want to get in trouble. So in a fucked up way, I was kind of programmed to accept abuse. Even though that might not have been the intention of my parents, raising me. But what they did conditioned me, ripened me for the perfect child of abuse. So I'm sharing that with you guys because I know that a lot of times in the Black community, we feel like children are supposed to be seen and not heard. I think this is changing. From what I can tell, I feel like this is changing. But if you're that parent who still believes that children are supposed to be seen and not heard, I challenge you to change that thought process, because what you're doing to your child is more detrimental to them than it is to you and your ego. If they say that you're wrong with something, what are you so afraid of? Like they're challenging you. They're saying, no, you mommy, you could do this a different way. Oh, no, daddy, you could do this a different way. I don't really like when you talk to me like this. I don't like when you hit me or you punish me or whatever. Whatever that may be, there's no consequence like having their personal boundaries violated. And as a parent, that is our responsibility, is to condition our children to be ready for the world. And this is a scary world. This is not necessarily love and light like we like to believe, and everything is great and nice and pretty and love is just flowing through everyone. It's not true. So we have to condition them to be able to stand up for themselves and to be able to speak up and say what it is that is hurting them, or if anyone is hurting them, and so on and so forth. So obviously you can see I've been very protective of Madison. She might argue overly protective, but I didn't even send her to daycare until she could talk, because I didn't want her to be in a position where someone was violating her and she could not share anything with me. Anyways, I said all that to say, for the parents who have young girls especially, but young boys also, make sure that you have open communication with your children. Make sure that if they're accusing someone of sexual abuse, oftentimes they're telling the truth. I didn't share my story for a long time because I was not sure that someone would say that I was lying, or I wasn't sure that I would hurt the person that ended up hurting me, which is funny enough. This person ended up going on to help other people who had been sexually abused, which further made me, the dynamics of the situation are just so, I still haven't wrap my head around everything. But this person ended up going on to help other people, other women who had been sexually abused by men. That was like, he took that on, like he took it on. That was his thing. It was like, I'm gonna be the savior for these women that are like, sexually abused. And at the time I was sitting back and like, okay, but what about me? Like, you did that to me, like as a child. I remember thinking this. Whatever. God has, a funny way, or the universe, whatever you might say. Universe has a funny way of working. So I never felt like me standing up in public and accusing him was going to be what he needed. Felt like that was going to be, I'm only speaking of one person because 2 people abused me, but this person did it multiple times. But I felt like God was gonna work through him. This is at an early age, so I was only 9 years old. But I felt like God was gonna work through him in a way that I just needed to do, all I needed to do was forgive him. And that this is at 9, I understood this. But I felt like all I needed to do was forgive him, and that God was going to work through him, and either he was going to help other people or he was going to pay for what he did to me. And I can't say what he's paid for in his life. I can't say at this moment. I can't say. He's never done jail time, or anything like that. And I'm not the only victim. I come to find that out in this last year, that I'm only one of quite a few. Which up until this year, I thought I was the only one. A lot of realizations when you start this healing process, you guys. Like, whoa, right? So anyways, yeah. I don't know. It's not for me. When you guys come through something where you feel like someone hurt me, and it doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It can be a breakup. It can be you felt slighted in your last breakup, or a previous breakup, and this person took more from you than what they gave, or what. Yeah, I said that right. It doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It can be whatever. For me, I've always known, and which is why I've been very careful, especially over these last recent years. I've been very careful of who I associate myself with, even when it comes to friends, because I feel like though they say God has no favorites or God doesn't favor anyone, I don't really know about that. I may be wrong in saying this, but I've watched people wrong me, and I've watched the karma come back on them in ways that I could have never hurt them the way that karma came back and hurt them. So for that reason, I'm saying that to say, you don't have to hurt anybody who hurt you. You don't have to go out and make yourself seem like you living a life or doing any of that. Just be you. Do you. Grow, heal, be happy. Because karma will always, no matter if you think it is or not, it will always, trust me, it will come back and do more damage to them than you could ever do. And then plus, whatever you do wrong to people, or you do bad, or you wish bad. I know a lot of people wonder about like black magic or black stuff, or dark energy, how they can hurt someone, or how they can put roots on people, or how they can do whatever. I don't do or practice any of that stuff. I don't do anything dark. And you should never do anything dark. You should never wish bad on anyone. Because it comes back to you or your future generations. So something that you just shouldn't do. Everyone who's hurt me in my lifetime, I'm sure in whatever way has paid for it, whether I've noticed it or not. I trust that the universe has done what they needed to do. Whatever lessons those people needed to learn, they have been placed in situations where they could have learned from them. Whether or not they learned from them, that's their situation. That's up to them. I can only hope that they have, but if they haven't, it has nothing to do with me. I'm here to be a testament to whoever's listening, or to whoever who has experienced sexual abuse. as a child especially. Because clearly you can be, heal from it as an adult. And what's so funny, this is another part that I failed to mention, which is very important. Sexual abuse could have happened to you. And a lot of times we feel, because we disconnect with it, because that's more comfortable for us, like it's more comfortable to feel that this did not happen to you than to face the facts that it actually did happen to you. I remember the first time that I actually came to this realization was I was getting a pap smear and I was 19 years old. So imagine being 19 and this happening to you again when you were 9. I was getting a pap smear, regular routine, yearly pap smear, and the doctor, I don't know anybody, let's just to be very clear, I don't know anybody who loves getting a pap smear. But me, I dreaded it. Like I always hated it. And this particular year that I went, the lady noticed that like I was like clenching. So I did this thing where I was like, like clenching, my shirt, like whatever my top was that I had on at the time, or maybe it was the gown. And I was like, really, obviously I was in visible discomfort, and I was clenching up. She couldn't get the speculum in. It was just a fucking nightmare. And she was like, oh, ma'am, have you ever been sexually abused? And I was like, no, why would you think that, And she was like, you exhibit signs of sexual abuse. And I was like, well, who the fuck really likes getting a pap smear, And she was like, not many people love it, but most people don't react the way that you do. The way that you're reacting right now shows signs of someone who's been sexually abused. And I couldn't confess to her at that moment that I had been sexually abused, because I wasn't even ready at 19 years old to share this with someone. Which I later shared with my mom like that year. But 10 years of burying this thing that happened to me, and a stranger confronts you on it, it's kind of hard to say, yes, it did happen. And then to admit that it's still hurting you or still affecting you at this point, then that's kind of hard. Everybody experiences sexual abuse and handles it in different ways. Some people become very promiscuous. I wasn't one of those people, because I was also I had a long-term boyfriend, first of all, for quite a long time. And then not only that, I was always very concerned about what people thought of me. I didn't want to be that girl, who was just out there or had like multiple boyfriends or multiple partners. So I've never been promiscuous, but the things that I exhibited during sex were, until recently, I didn't even know that this was like that of an abused person. And that I will wait to share in my book, because that's very personal and I have to get permission from the people or the person, because it's only been one person, but the person that pointed these things out to me before I share this detail about them. Or nothing bad about them, but they obviously had an encounter with me where they pointed this out to me. So I just want to share, I want to be in the clear about sharing that. But yeah, yeah. So someone asked, am I willing to share my healing process? Yes. I am willing to share my healing process, because my healing process has been pretty visible on my Facebook group where I share my celibacy journey. Because that is the way that I healed. And I continue to heal. I have shared that I've used infuceuticals, which is the methodology of energetic healing that I am now offering as a service, but only because it's helped me heal. I was never ever able to share even a portion, a quarter of what I shared with you guys. You all are strangers to me. I've never shared a quarter of what I shared with you all without breaking down in tears and crying hysterically. I was not able to do that until, and I've done the, you gotta write letters to the people, you gotta forgive them, you gotta make the phone call and tell the person you forgive them, even if they're not sorry. I've done like all of the fucking methods that everyone says that you should do to heal from, trauma. I still wasn't able to talk about this story and say what happened to me without breaking down in fucking tears. It was not until I've taken Liberator, which I've been very honest and open with, that this is what helped me, because I was astonished. And I knew that was what it was. That's the only thing that had changed, that I had done differently. When I took this stuff, I was able to share my story without breaking down and crying hysterically. And what Liberator does is the pharmaceutical does help you free you from your past traumas, addictions, so on and so forth. And I had only taken it one day. 6 drops, I think. So, clearly I was ready for that. I had done the work. I had written the letters. I feel like, healing is a process. You're not going to get over whatever has happened to you. If it was traumatic, you're not going to get over this in 1 week, 1 day, 1 class. I know a lot of people go to things like Landmark Forum and shit like that. Like, oh, it's a fucking weekend, I'm healed. They make their phone calls and, oh, I'm healed. And there's no disrespect to Landmark or any of those kinds of healing programs. But you're not going to heal in 1 weekend. These are traumatic behaviors or things that have happened to you over some time. I don't give a damn if you take pharmaceuticals or not. This shit ain't gonna heal in 1 fucking weekend. I don't give a damn who you call and tell them that you forgive them. You ain't healing off of something that happened to you when you were a child and you're 30-something or 40-something or 50-something or 20-something even in 1 fucking weekend. This is years of paradigms or mindsets that you've created around the abuse that has happened to you. I don't want to set limitations, so I shouldn't say it like you're not going to heal, because some person might. Let me rephrase this. Most people are not going to heal in 1 weekend when something happened to them as a child, and they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on and so forth. I feel more comfortable saying it that way, because I don't want to set any limitations. If you do go in 1 weekend and you feel healed, who am I to say anything different? I did this shit for quite some time. I ain't fucking healing 1 weekend. And what I had to realize was that though I might have felt a certain way about people or the people who hurt me, fuck them, they hurt me, yada yada, karma's gonna get them. It wasn't until I truly forgave them, because I really had to understand that my resentment or my anger towards them was impacting my present day relationships, how I viewed men, how I viewed relationships, my role as a woman, how my mom handled the situation after I talked to her about it. All these things had to be, we don't realize. It's so funny because I heard someone just say recently, like their mom was pissing them off and they were like, oh, fuck her. I ain't got to deal with her. Oh, I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't have to deal. It's so funny because it's like I laugh almost, because to hear this, I'm like, oh, that's cute that you think that. the relationship you have with your mother and your father. I don't give a damn what they did to you. Now, this is a message, and maybe this is what I had to share with someone. I'm feeling like this is the part that I really had to share. Whatever they did to you doesn't affect them. The only person it affects is you and your future relationships. If you come from an unhealed place, then you are not healed, and you're bringing that into your current, present day relationships. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. I don't care how much you deny it. I don't care how much you say, no, it didn't happen to me. Ah, fuck her. She did this. Fuck him. He did this. I don't give a damn how deeply you have buried what has happened to you. I don't care if you shout that shit from the mountaintops. I don't give a damn. It's funny because it's like I listen to you and I hear you, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, this motherfucker got some healing to do. Oh, shit. If you feel like fuck your mom or fuck your dad, those two people especially, I'm not saying that other people are not impacted also, but those two people are going to affect your masculine and feminine, that yin yang. You guys see that circle? You know the circle I'm talking about with the black and white? There's the circle and the wavy line in the middle. There's the dots. The dot up here, that's your masculine and your feminine energy. You are both. I don't give a damn if you're a male or a female. You embody both energies. You embody masculine and you embody feminine energies. Your first exposure to masculine and feminine energy is that from your mom and from your dad. I don't give a damn if your dad was present in your life, if he wasn't present, if your mom was present, if she wasn't present. That's what you are composed of. And whether you'd like to sit up here and tell me, no, I was adopted, no, I had people who cared about me, and my mom and dad were assholes, they were drug addicts, but that does not affect me to this day because I had two people who loved me. I'm not doubting that people loved you. And I'm not doubting that you have some sort of idea in your head that you're healed. Because maybe in your head you do feel that way. But it is not until you really sit back and say, you know what? The rejection from my mom or the rejection from my dad, it impacted me. And it impacts me as a 35-year-old person, or as a 40-year-old person, or as a 25-year-old person. It affects me. Until you say that and recognize that, you've not even begun to heal. And to be honest, you're gonna bring that hurt and that sense of abandonment and that sense of mistrust and that sense of fear into every relationship you have from here on out. And if you feel like your relationships don't last and you can never keep a man or you can never keep a female, I'm going to challenge you to go back. I'm giving y'all this is some free information right here. Because it's some real life shit. If you telling me at this point you cannot keep a relationship and you in your 30s and you in your 40s, do I gotta be that real friend? Do I gotta be that real friend that tell me that I gotta tell you it's not them, boo-boo, it's you? Do I gotta be that friend? It's not them. It's not them. I don't give a damn if he cheated on you, if he abused you. It is not them. It is not them. I'm not saying they not fucked up for what they did to you. At the end of the day, you are the creator of your future, of your destiny, of your present. You create your present day. If you're allowing people to come into your life that abuse you or that hurt you because most likely you have been abused and you have been hurt in your childhood. So this is very normal and very natural to you, and this is what you interpret as love or as a sign of love. Maybe you've seen your father abuse your mom, and so you think it's like, you've all heard this story before. You know, people feel like my dad abused my mom, and so that's why, you know, I felt it was okay for my dad or for my husband to beat me. I thought that that was love. You know, it's very easy to sit back and be judgmental of those people. However, when you start to look and like sweep at your own front door, it becomes a little bit harder, a little bit more uncomfortable, because you're like, oh, because I didn't see love in this form or in this fashion, or because someone abandoned me, or because somebody didn't treat me right, or somebody, you know, in my formative years as a child, I formed what I thought love was off of these things. And so now it's funny that I can't keep a relationship, or I can't see things through. I'm suffering from abandonment, but I don't know that because I've chosen to disassociate myself from the abandonment that my parents, you know, gave me, or that I experienced with my parents. Whether they were voluntarily in your life or not, or whatever. If your biological mother and father were not in the home and they did not raise you, oh, I get so much resistance when I say this, but it's true, y'all. If your biological mother and your biological father did not raise you in your formative years, there is a high probability, I'm not gonna say 100%, there is a high probability that you will interpret some sense of abandonment. If you feel abandoned, and I can only speak about abandonment because I experienced that. If you have experienced abandonment, then what you will do most likely is abandon people before they can abandon you, or your fear of being abandoned will be projected onto the people that you date, and for that reason they will leave you because you put too much shit and stress on the relationship. You think they cheating, you think they doing this, you think they doing that. Yeah, motherfucker, they are gonna cheat. You fucking neurotic, and you hard to deal with, and you stress me the fuck out. And if I was a man, I'd leave your ass too, because you fucking scary, and you putting shit out there that ain't even really the fucking, it's not even happening. But you think it's happening because in your head, when a man doesn't come home at night, or he has not called you within a few hours, or he has not sent a text back, that has equated to you as someone who is cheating, or someone who's not going to come home, or someone who is going to be gone for years, or never come back, or never be there to parent, or whatever the case. So you projecting. So I felt like that message was for somebody, because I don't know where the fuck that came from. It's so funny because I feel like I just received downloads. Like, Creator just does that. I know people think like, okay, so I am an air sign, so don't get that fucked up. I am an air sign, so I flow like shit. Like, I just flow just like the air and just like water. I'm the water bearer and I'm an air sign. You can't contain water and you cannot contain air. The two of them will find a way to escape. So I flow just like this. So naturally, my natal chart has set me up to flow, but I feel like Creator talks and you will see it in base. That's why I don't do like organized chats. I don't know what the fuck I'm about to talk about. I don't know, y'all. I don't know who's on the other side of this computer or on the other side of this phone. I don't even know who's going to be watching this a few hours from now or a few days from now. I have no idea. So when I'm receiving stuff, I'm just speaking because clearly he's telling me to say certain things or speak about this because it's for someone else to hear. My intellect has no idea. Like, my own faculties, my third dimensional faculties cannot speak on what I should really speak on. Like, I don't know. I'm speaking on what he's telling me to say. I think I'm about to sit up here and talk to y'all about sexual abuse, but I just went on a whole other tangent. Somebody needed to hear it. So I hope if you heard it, I hope that you didn't only just hear it, I hope you digested it. And if you don't do anything with it at this moment, I hope 3 years later down the line, you'll say, you know what? I remember that talk. And you don't have to ever tell me. I don't give a shit if you acknowledge me or not. I've let go of that. Ego has allowed me to free myself of acknowledgement. But I don't give a shit if you ever tell me that I helped facilitate your healing. But if 3 years down the line, you say, you know, I remember when Queenie said that shit, I was not ready to hear that at that moment. I did not want to accept that I had been abused. I did not want to accept that I was still dealing with abandonment from my mom or from my dad. I denied that shit when she said it. I fucking hung up the live stream because it was too much for me to handle. It was too fucking real. You know, I hope that I don't give a shit whether you probably, and a lot of people have started to unfollow me. I've lost quite a few thousand followers, just FYI, since I've been on this healing and self-love journey. And I know the reason for that is just because this shit ain't pretty. Healing is not pretty. It's not a fucking pretty thing. This is not glorious. This doesn't look like abs. Doesn't look like, you know, the most aesthetically pleasing thing. There's days when you're up, there's days when you're down, there's days when you're in between, and then you might be up for a while and you might come the fuck back down. You know, it's not consistent, but I'm gonna be real as fuck no matter what the fuck I do, because that's the only way I know how to be. So you ain't gonna see me with hundreds of thousands of followers. I don't think I'm ever have that. I mean, that's my limited faculties speaking, but I don't think I will, because everybody don't like real people. They like people who post selfies and fucking abs. And I ain't about to do that shit with y'all motherfuckers all day. Y'all gonna get some real shit. Okay, let me see. That trauma is no lie. Dealt with it and it changed my life. Save this to your highlights, please. I have to save it, so it'll only stay up for 24 hours because it's too long to save to my IGTV. Landmark is a sham. You know what, Brad, Leisha? I have said that. And I'm so happy to hear somebody else say that. Oh, you don't know what you just did. You confirmed something for me, because I know people, and I will end with saying this. I don't want to end with saying this. Let me not end on this note, because this is not a positive note. But I feel like I do need to share this. Landmark forum, you can Google it. That might be what you need. So do not allow me to determine what it is that you do for healing, because my view is my view. What you may be called to is something completely different. Maybe that will help heal you. But for me, Landmark is a forum, yes. But I know people who are supposedly Landmark like veterans. They've been through the collegiate damn program. They got fucking degrees from Landmark. I don't want to be around them motherfuckers. They ain't healed. They still not healed. They hurt. They abused. They still project that shit. They fearful. I can't say much positivity about the people I've met through Landmark. I think they think that healing is done in a weekend. And after they make the phone calls that Landmark makes you make or tells you to make, I think that they all think that they done healed. And this shit don't work like that. Okay, I got 30 seconds left. Let me finish on a positive note. And no, it does not matter what you experienced in your childhood. You have a choice to be a victim, and you have a choice to be a victor. How you choose to view the things that have happened to you